Let's give it up for Mike Klatt.
Yes, all the way from South Dakota. It's not as bad as it sounds, though. I am from the mega metropolis of Sioux Falls. If you haven't seen our skyline, I have. That's how that joke goes. That's what happens when you write a joke between there and here. I was trying to check out the skyline the other day, and basically reminded me of being 14 and trying to find my mustache in the mirror. But I do appreciate y'all coming out on the eve of one of America's greatest holidays. President's Day does hold a special part in my heart. I'm assuming it would for the rest of you as well. But I do find it ironic that the one holiday we have to celebrate a bunch of dead presidents is the one we haven't found a great way to commercialize yet. I just don't have a good reason to go out and throw around a bunch of Benjamins and Franklins tomorrow. It's not that I'm against the commercialization of holidays, because for Pete's sake, I sell jewelry for a living. I once told the guy that he was going to need to buy a bigger diamond for his 4th of July engagement so that it wasn't out sparkled by all the fireworks in the sky that night. Now, guys do quite often ask me, what's the appropriate amount of money to spend on an engagement ring? Well, I make my living based off of commission, so I tell them the most they can afford to spend without having to bring it back the next day. Sometimes that puts them at ease, sometimes it makes them run out the door. But then they get serious with me and they say, isn't it supposed to be some formula, like based on 3 months' salary or something like that? I say, no, sir, you're looking at it all wrong. Diamonds are priced based on purity and clarity. So any formula you use to determine the right diamond for your girl should be directly proportionate to the number of men's penises she has entertained. Of course, the diamond may be all scratched and damaged, but more than likely she probably is as well. Now that's what it looks like when the single guys come in trying to surprise the girls. The real freak show is when the young naive couples come in, and I stand on the other side of the counter while they talk about their dreams and hopes and search the counters for that perfect ring to symbolize their everlasting love. And then I get to just sit there and watch as they love and dove on each other. It's quite disgusting. I'm divorced, if you can't tell by the way I said that. And then, of course, they pick out the right ring and they go on their own happy, naive way. And then 30 days later, some guy comes back and asks for his money back. Poor fella. I wasn't so lucky. My ex-wife waited until the return policy expired to show her pointy little red horns. Yeah, I'm a little wiser for the situation though, because I kind of realized what was happening. I knew my relationship wasn't as good as it should be when the only appropriate anniversary card I could find said, "Being married to you is like doing time, hard time, only less sex." So if I ever do have to get married again or find myself, in that situation where I'm going to propose, I'm going to keep my expectations a little bit lower. Maybe something like, hey, what do you say we spend like 3 to 5 years together and you have half my stuff? Well, that's the few minutes of material I have that might make you laugh. The rest is just filler. Pretty much the same experience you get with me in bed. My ex-wife, though, did tell me before she left that the only thing funny about me is the way I make love. So I'm going to need a volunteer. As I suspected, I need to go back to the gym. Last time I did that joke, the only guy to raise his hand was wearing a kilt. Now, I'm usually not into dudes, especially ones with lazy eyes. That was a pretty tough crowd. On a side note, the state of South Dakota has determined that I'm no longer legally entitled to practice comedy in public. Apparently, my interpretation of artistic license is not congruent with that of our state's attorney. The joke's a lot funnier when it flows right. And I suppose after the things I've shared with you, a few of you are dying to hear some relationship advice from me. The best I have is don't try to kill yourself with a phone cord that's used to charge your cell phone. Those things are cheap and Chinese. That's not the joke, but it is funny how I got to that point. I was deeply concerned that my cell phone was acting up, so I went to the cell phone kiosk. Yes, I went to the kiosk, not the store. I like to live my customer service experiences on the edge. And I wasn't surprised when I received bad service, but I didn't expect to have to kill myself over it. I put my cell phone on the counter and I said, I've texted this girl 37 times. And she's not texted me back. And I said, hey, here's the good news. Your phone's not broke. Bad news is your girlfriend may have broke up with you. So I'm going to be dating again. That's how that goes. Be back out there, getting my freak on, taking applications. But my uncle did give me some dating advice. I don't know how relevant it is, though, because he said, Mike, weddings are a great place to meet single women. He said, it's just a veritable hunting zone. I said, well, Uncle, that's great advice if I'm hunting for a trophy wife, but I'm more of a scavenger. So I'm going to be hanging out at social services offices, 12-step meetings, amateur comedy nights. Hey, on a lighter note, I've been watching a little TV lately. Seen a lot of advertisements for that reality show, Finding Bigfoot and Ghost Hunters. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be watching that. Spoiler alert, but I don't think they're going to find Bigfoot. That's about as interesting as watching a fishing show filmed in the parking lot of the Quest Center. Now that could get interesting though if Roland Martin jigged up a dead hooker. Speaking of dead hookers, sure there's a lot of great jokes that start that way, too bad I don't have any of the punchlines. Some other things I can tell you about me that you may be surprised about is I have a lot of problems with money. I have a little more money than I know what to do with. Punchline is that money is the name of my penis. Found myself thirsty the other day. I went to a soda machine. I'm still thirsty. Machine said insert money here. I can't afford to go to prison for violating another vending machine. When I was married, I had to get a financial advisor, and he suggested I diversify where I invest my money. My ex-wife was not too pleased about that. I had to fire him and get a divorce attorney. Now, in this divorce attorney's infinite, finite, and whatever awesome, college-educated wisdom this guy had, suggested we split my money. Said, I don't think that's going to appease her. She's pretty bitter about it. What's she going to do with half a dick? So, yeah, it causes a lot of crazy situations. I was outside a club in Minneapolis the other day. I just got done with this little show, and I was going to have a smoke, and a mugger pulls out a gun and demands I give him all my money. That fool received swift and painful justice. And then I had to smoke. You might not tell, but my status as a comedian has been amateur. Until last week, I went semi-pro. I received $100 in free pizza for entertaining a company Christmas party, which is great timing because my rent just went up 2 pizzas a month. Yeah. This is the high life, you've hit your comedy apex when you're telling jokes in front of 25 restaurant workers and you're getting heckled by a pizza delivery guy named Ninja. That guy was a mess. You guys are a much better crowd, and I definitely appreciate that. So, Thank you all for having me tonight, and that's all I've got.